This is just a quick disclaimer to all Ted Lasso fans. The video you're about to watch contains plenty of spoilers. I never thought I'd say this on YouTube, but if you are a big Ted Lasso fan and you're not up to date, up to the finale that premieres tonight at midnight, please don't watch this video.
Yeah, me and Calla are going to talk very intensely about one of, if not probably our favourite TV show at the moment on Apple TV, Ted Lasso. And obviously, we want to share our passion. We don't want to share it with anyone who hasn't seen it. We certainly don't want to spoil it for anyone. So if you haven't seen it, spoilers alert in this next video. Yeah, just so you've been warned.
Right, so spoilers out of the way. Let's talk Ted Lasso. So, Charlie, where do we even start with this program? Because we go a long way back with it, don't we, mate?
Yeah. I think, obviously, I owe a lot of credit to you. I was saying this to you off air when we decided we want to talk about it, that me and Beth wouldn't have watched it without your recommendation all that time ago. And I'll be honest with you, you and I are good friends, and we've dispelled some good advice to each other, but I'd say one of your best nuggets was introducing me to this program. So yeah, I absolutely love it. Me and Beth, we crashed it. We crashed the first 2 episodes in literally a week, or 2 episodes, two seasons in a week. So we loved it, and we think it's one of, if not probably, my favorite TV show that I've ever seen. And I know that you and I have talked about it off air, and I know that we've got a lot to say, and you've got a lot to say about the whole sort of 3-season arc and how, that kind of may fit Ted Lasso, perhaps in a heartbreaking way. But overall, I just want to say I absolutely love the program. I know we've got a lot to talk about with it. So let me ask you, Cal, what are your thoughts and what do you love about it and what not?
Oh, God. I go a long way back with it. I think the biggest thing for me is it takes me back to when me and Danny first moved into the house. We had absolutely nothing in the house, right? We still we was doing it all up, and we had my telly from my mum and dad's. We had a workbench and a settee, and that was it. So
that's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah, well, evidently so. I was using the Wi-Fi for a hotspot off my phone. I was using 3G, and we watched 2 seasons of Ted Lasso in a week, just as you said. And yeah, going back to the, watching it from then, just fell in love with it so quickly. And it's one of those programs that can do that too, and just, everything about it. I could go on for days talking about Ted Lasso and the characters and everything like that. But I do think that it does seem to be, sadly, heading towards its final curtain call, which is devastating. But it does seem that way. And everything, all roads lead to this being the finale, never mind the season 3 finale. And as sad as it is, it does tie things up pretty well. It looks like, they're heading towards a Premier League title, which is mental. And Ted looks like he's not feeling it anymore, ready to go home and be with his boy. And, there's so many little storylines in there that are ready to be finished off. And yeah, I'm just in love with it, and I love it to pieces. It reminds me of good times, takes me back, and yeah, just devastated that it's going. I don't want it to leave. I don't want it to leave.
Well, I think to touch upon a point you just said, obviously, I think you and I are in agreement that we have this daunting feeling that this probably isn't just the season finale, it is the, program finale, which obviously, yeah, it's heartbreaking. Maybe it's the right time. As I say, I know there's that Dark Knight clip on the Dark Knight film that says you either die a legend or live long enough to be the villain. In other words, with this, either you finish now on the peakest of high, or you try and squeeze out a couple more seasons and run the risk of it saturating a little bit. But what I would say is, without being too negative, we want to do this segment to show how much we love the program. And to touch upon something you said there, which made me laugh inside, but also I think is its charm, is that it kind of ties in the Hollywood thing, the very American thing, which I'll be honest with you, when you first mentioned to me to watch it, my initial thought was, obviously, it was around. I'd seen clips of it online and people talking about it. And my initial thought was, oh, God, Americans trying to do my beloved game And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sold straight away. I thought this is going to be some horrible, cheesy, almost like trying to sell British soccer to the Americans to try and make it, whatever it is. And
we are quite precious about it, aren't we?
We are, I think that, well, in the words of the infamous Mike Bassett, he said, "We made football and we gave it to the world." And I think that obviously that's me and Cal watched Mike Bassett, England manager, the other day, and it's hilarious.
Oh yes, we did.
Listeners and watchers, if you haven't seen Mike Bassett, England manager, you're missing out. However, that's a separate topic. Point is, yes, I think us Brits are particularly precious about football. That being said, I think Ted Lasso perfectly marries the American Hollywood TV show with amazing, crisp British humour. And like you said, they're on the crisp of a Premier League title. On the face of it, I mean, take obviously what Leicester City did in the real world. That did take a couple of years, but that was an upset. This is very Hollywood. There is, in a million years, ask a billion people, would a team that's newly promoted win the Premier League? Not a toffee's chance. But that being said, I love the program. It's so American in its sort of format, and yet the intricacies of it are British football humor, and I love that. It's like I'm laughing at things that they must have the most amazing British consultants on it, because the British humor gets British humor perfectly. And
it's true, and I think, don't you think it marries the two together so well as well? Like you have Ted Lasso talking and giving such a buoyant American, positive speech, and then it just gets absolutely murdered by some British, a British sense of humor and our blunt and rudeness. I think that's what the best thing for me is that marriage between the two cultures throughout, and it pretty much lives through the entire thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's an absolutely amazing program. And I think that for anyone who's listening to the podcast, obviously they probably, unless they're a glut for punishment, no one's watching this segment unless they've seen the program. So they will obviously either share our love or maybe not share our love, and they've seen the program and aren't quite as big as fans. But I think for me personally, and I think you and I, we agree, this is why I want to talk about it. I think that there isn't too many programs like it. There hasn't been done. And obviously, when you've got the backing of a huge American, corporation like Apple TV, I was skeptical. That's my point. I was very skeptical when it started. I wasn't sure how it was going to go down. However, I think now, as we touched upon, we're looking at potentially the exit of the end of it, if you will. The sort of finish of it. Which, in some ways, given obviously we're filming this literally 2 hours before the final episode comes out. So maybe this is ill-timed, but I think it was just perfect for us to talk about. I think that we are looking at the end of an amazing program, and there's potential spin-offs. I think that's something we could talk about in another segment if there was to have a spin-off of Ted Lasso and who we would love. That's a challenge for you. Maybe we could talk about that at some point.
Anything off the top of your head right now?
Oh, anyone wants to see a Roy Kent. I personally love Trent Crimm, the Independent.
Trent Crimm.
I think that there's scope for a Trent Crimm, the early years, how he got into journalism. Obviously, they touch upon a quite sensitive subject about Trent's sexuality, and I think that that's something that I think that his character's got so much depth, and obviously he's not really a major character in the program, but yet he's a really good little. He's a little sort of twist in it. Like every now and then, Trent Crimm comes in, and there's a reason why they made him a lot more. Let's be honest. The first, couple of seasons when he was just the guy that turned up at the press conferences. He is a spark.
They knew he was
genius.
Gold, didn't they? They knew he was gold. That's why he's with the club this series.
So for me, I would say that if there was a spin-off, I would put my stock into either a Roy Kent or a Trent Crimm. What about you? What do you reckon?
Oh, it's got to be Coach Beard. After that episode, that pretty much was a spin-off series in itself. I couldn't get bored of a whole series of just whatever he gets up to in his personal life.
He's an absolute nutter. He's an absolute nutter, isn't he?
He really
I love
it. It's true, and these are the things that really make me love this show. And I think with characters that you can relate to and just fall in love with like that. It's like Hannah Waddingham's character, Rebecca Welton, the owner of the football club. My mum and my missus watch this program, and they feel empowered by it. Like they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, boss ass bitch. They love her, and that is so special. Like how that can become a thing in your life, and that's what makes the great series. I think. You go on about whether it would be going on too long, and obviously I'm so greedy. Like I want it to go on forever. But remember,
Yeah.
Afterlife, two of my most favorite series of comedy ever is Afterlife 1 and 2, but Afterlife 3 is rubbish. And that,
Yeah, I think
it's,
you
hurts
get the
to see.
impression that Afterlife 3 was kind of done because he was obviously no shade on Ricky Gervais. I think he's a
Oh,
genius.
the best. Yeah, yeah.
But I do think that it was clear that that third series was kind of the demand for it perhaps outweighed his desire to do it, and I think he kind of Obviously, I can't speak for him, but I would say that in my personal opinion, yeah, I agree with you. I think Afterlife is one of the most, and that we could talk a whole episode on that. I think it's incredible comedy, but I do think, like you said, I think with Afterlife, I got the impression that third series was kind of like, yeah, definitely a swan song. There was no doubt about it. That series was there to finish Afterlife, and it perhaps quality wasn't as high as, certainly wasn't as high as the previous two. Let's be honest. But I think with Ted Lasso, yeah, I think that you make a very valid point, and I think to go back to your point about obviously Rebecca and how she empowers women. I think that that's perhaps another genius part of Ted Lasso is that it's a TV show about football that has nothing to do with football in so many ways. Like the football part of it is not an integral part. It's just what the kind of subject matter is, but all the depth comes from the characters that are around it. That program could be about anything. The football scenes are great.
Yeah.
The football fan in me loves the football scenes. But do you know what I mean? It's like it's about football, but it has nothing to do with football. It's characters, and these story arcs are amazing.
You never find yourself talking about the quality of the goals, do you? It's more about the storyline.
No, let's be honest,
We did mention in a pre-warning before this video about spoilers, so we're going to get into a couple of them now, just to envelope the question that we want to ask. And so, in the second to last episode of this series, the show finishes with Rebecca Welton asking telling Ted Lasso she didn't have anything for him in their annual confessions of what they wanted to say to each other, and Ted reveals that he does, which all signs point to Ted Lasso returning to Kansas, doesn't it, and back to be with his son. What do you think is going to happen in this final episode?
I think again, I don't want to contradict myself. It's very Hollywood, and that's what I think is the charm about it. So if you said to me, the football fan that wanted to be a purist and difficult, I don't want to see them win the league because that's the most unrealistic thing. However, it's done so well, and they're second in the league. They're on what is it now? 16 after beating Man City, a 16-game.
They just need a win, yeah.
They just need a win, and I think that they should win the league. That being said, I think that the TV show's got so much depth that they could easily, if they didn't win the league, I think that there's potential for them to start looking at further series. I think if they won the league, I think that would be, closing chapter, put the pen down. They've kind of told a story about a team that has taken on a coach that should not have come. I mean, when you talk about the show, as I am, as a poor person, like if I said the synopsis and the plot, people go, "This sounds like the worst program in the world," and yet it's not. Because I was just about to say, they take a coach from American football, takes a team that's not in the Premier League, gets them into the Premier League, and then wins it in 3 years or whatever. Then it's madness, and yet it's great. I think this final episode, I still believe, even though they teased it and then backed off, I think there's a love story between Ted and Rebecca.
I've seen this.
I don't know, but they kind of teased it and then backed off. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it in that, with those eyes. Especially this series. I think they've needed each other, haven't they? And I suppose you could make that a romantic link, but I don't know. I think there's something refreshing about the friendship that they have, and it's just an intriguing show, isn't it? You never know, and there's so many things that happen that you think, what? and then it happens, and yeah, it would be. I don't think it would make sense because I think he's going home, and obviously if he confessed his love for her and then went home, it wouldn't make much sense. But I do see the links. I understand. I personally just think he's going to announce he's leaving. I think they're going to win the league. What a story, by the way. Relegated first season, not sacked, promoted, champions. It's not bad. But I think Nate's going to have a big say because the final game.
Yeah, Nate Shelley. Yeah, of course, Nate Shelley.
The final game of the season is at home to West Ham. And another spoiler, Nate is now back with Richmond. And so could it be more poetic than that? That Rupert's going to be in the ground to watch Richmond win the Premier League. It's shaping up so much, isn't it? And you look at all of the little storylines within it this season. I think one thing for me that I've really enjoyed is Jamie Tartt's character development.
Yeah,
Phil Dunster's an incredible actor, and what he does with Jamie Tartt in this series is just unbelievable. And I loathed Jamie Tartt in the first series, loathed him. Second series, I thought, right, you're humbled now. But then this third series, he is probably my favourite character in it because just how he acts, and an unpredictable, very funny character.
And his relationship with Roy Kent and what happened there was great.
Yeah.
And I think that it also brought out the best in Roy Kent, even though Roy Kent is probably my favourite character. Personally, I think Roy Kent and Trent Grimm. I can't give enough love for Trent Grimm. I think he's just an absolutely majestic human being and amazingly. I mean, I wish I could take the actor's name off the top of my head. I want to say it because I want to praise him and say what an amazing man he is. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Jamie Tartt's character arc's been amazing. There's still a few little loose ends to tie up. Obviously, there's Keely Jones. I think her and Roy are probably going to end up together. If not, they've got back together, but then she kind of implied about being friends, and there's a conversation there to be had. I think that overall, I think you're right. When you said it hit me deep, and I think the more I've come to terms with it, I think we are looking at the end of the show. So I know it's heartbreaking, but I think that all roads lead to it. And let's be honest, I if you gave me the opinion of finishing on a high, and it is like, oh my God, of course, leave the audience wanting more, I would take that over them trying to squeeze out another series or two, because heaven forbid, I think we're both in agreement that Ted leaves. Heaven forbid Ted leaves, and they can't have a show called Ted Lasso without Ted Lasso. So it's like
Ted Lasso's over at Sporting Kansas City, and
exactly
we're all over it.
And I don't.
What about Rebecca flying overseas and buying Sporting Kansas City? Ooh.
Well, that's it. I think that would, I don't know. For me, that wouldn't do it for me. No. The only thing the only thing that would do it for me is if they wanted to do the whole Champions League thing. I think that would be amazing. I don't think they'd do it, but if they did do it, that would maybe be an arc. Ted Lasso and Richmond in Europe. But I think this is it. And to be honest, Cal, I'm happy to come to terms with it. I think it's been a great show. I love it to pieces, and I'm happy to watch them ride off into the sunset with the Premier League victory, even though they wear Crystal Palace colours, which still pisses me off, but I love it.
They use the ground, don't they? But for the Richmond games, struggling to come to terms with it, to be honest. But to see Ted Lasso, the character that he is, the man that we all love to pieces, Jason Sudeikis is an absolute genius, and to see AFC Richmond, as you say, ride off into the sunset with a Premier League title, that scene is going to be replayed over and over and over again when it comes out. If it happens, hopefully it happens. It should happen.
I think so.
But that is it for our quick little summary and predictions ready for tonight. Are you staying up for it? I don't think I'm staying up for it.
I don't know. As I say, I mean, I've just heard Beth come in. I know she needs food, so I probably need to sort out with some food, and then we love it. I've got a long day tomorrow. I'm traveling halfway across the country, to be honest, so I probably won't get a chance to see it. The likelihood is I'll either stay up and watch it tonight, or it'll be Thursday morning. So
no spoilers.
No spoilers out there. We've given you guys the courtesy. Give us the courtesy of not tagging us in any spoilers, please. That'd be great.
But that is it for our conversation about Ted Lasso. Hope you enjoyed. This is going to be going out onto Talk Nonsense and onto my own channel as well. Please give it a share. Give us a subscribe, please, on everything. That'd be lovely.
All the links below. All the links.
A like, a comment. Let us know what you think. This will be coming out about an hour before Ted Lasso comes out. And so you'll see this. You'll do whatever you're doing. If you're staying up to watch it, making a deal of it, making a night of it, you'll see this. Give us your opinion, and then you get it. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be watching it tomorrow night. But thank you so much for watching. It's always a pleasure, and we can't wait to be back with you on another video. Thank you very much. Charlie, any last words?
Long live Ted Lasso. Long live Trent Krim. Long live the podcast and us talking absolute nonsense. Peace and love.
That'll do.